Is 10 too early for a kicker? Is that too? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we could do some fun things there with number 10.
Necessarily saw him as a running back as much as a dynamic weapon. Mm-hmm. And so when you're talking about one first half of the first round like that, you needed to see someone that's really a game changer, a player that could strike fear into the opposing defense.
More and more interviews from the owners' meetings have surfaced regarding some off-season injury updates, Kyler Gordon's extension, an update about our new stadium, and a bunch more new tidbits from our coaching staff and the upcoming NFL draft. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First, let's talk about Braxton Jones' injury update. Ben Johnson said he thinks Braxton is right on track in his recovery from off-season ankle surgery. He said he thinks the progress is right where it needs to be. He said it is possible that Braxton could still be limited in training camp, but he is on track to be ready to go before the season starts. Ben said he also wants Braxton to put on some more weight and improve his anchor in pass rush situations. That's a big update from our head coach there. When asked if they see Braxton as the starting left tackle in 2025, he said absolutely. He went on to add that we're going to challenge Braxton to maybe gain a little bit more weight so that he can anchor better in pass pro, but everything I've seen so far from Braxton has shown a phenomenal athlete out there on the edge that we feel like we can work with. Strong words from our new head coach regarding our left tackle. He also talked about how much he liked both Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright in his introductory press conference. It's hard to get a real read here, especially with Braxton maybe being limited heading into training camp, but maybe O-line really is off the board for the first round pick. Our new head coach also talked about last year's third round pick, Karan Amagaji. He said, I liked Karan a lot coming out last year. He was a guy we had earmarked as a potential developmental prospect. He had a lot of traits to work with, and we were not discouraged at all by what he put on tape last year. He said that Karan got put in some tough situations as a rookie. It sounds like Ben Johnson also believes in Karan Amagaji. Maybe we should listen. His comments also echoed the things I've said about Karan. He didn't take a single snap in training camp, mini camp, or the preseason. So when he got thrown out onto the field as a left tackle, he simply was not prepared to play. And that's on the coaching staff. Ben Johnson does not put his players in situations like that. He also gave a positive update regarding Jaquan Brisker's health status. All signs are good to go. Jaquan Brisker is 100% heading into the offseason program, and he should have zero limitations. But Ben Johnson also talked about wanting to establish the run game. He wants our O-line to put on some weight, and he wants to establish the run to help Caleb Williams. The reason? Ben said he loves using play action. It's a weapon for him on offense, and he's going to have Caleb operate under center more than he's used to. Over the last 3 years, the Lions led the league in taking snaps under center, and they were a top 3 offense in the NFL for 3 straight seasons. One of the reasons Ben Johnson was able to accomplish that is by establishing the run and mixing in play action. He's going to continue operating in a similar fashion in Chicago, but he's going to build his playbook around Caleb Williams' talents and the rest of the playmakers on this offense. And that should feature plenty of RPO and play action shots that take advantage of Caleb Williams' best traits. But all of the talk from Ben Johnson really leads towards the Bears most likely drafting a new running back this offseason. DeAndre Swift is still in the plans, but the Bears plan to use more than one runner, and I think their plan for Swift is to be used more like he was in Detroit, where he was a complimentary back, similar to how Ben Johnson used Jahmyr Gibbs. Just because he's not starting doesn't mean he can't be a big part of the offense. That's the role Swift could play this year. But most likely the Bears are going to be looking for a primary ball carrier and most likely will be drafting a new running back. That doesn't mean it's going to happen in round 1. There are plenty of good running backs in this class. Also, if you missed yesterday's video, Ben Johnson also talked about adding dynamic weapons on this offense, and he mentioned Tyler Warren and Ashton Genty specifically. Also, he talked about how the most important position on defense and the one that causes offenses the most problems is a defensive tackle that can pressure QBs up the middle. So look for the Bears to add another player to the interior of that D line as well. Next up, Ryan Poles would talk to the media as well. One of the first things he talked about was a contract extension for Kyler Gordon and how it's a priority this offseason. Look, I love Kyler. I think he has Pro Bowl upside, and he's one of my favorite players on this roster. He was also Ryan Poles' first ever draft pick, and I'm sure Poles is ready and willing to finally extend one of his own draft picks. Kyler deserves an extension, and it's not about if, but more about when it's going to happen. Our GM did not put a timetable on it, but I expect it to be done before the season starts. Ryan Poles also joined SportsCenter today, and he talked about adding impact players in this draft. I love it when I'm on the same page with Ryan Poles because he literally said multiple things that I've been hampering on over the last few weeks. He talked about having flexibility in round one and how they want to land the biggest impact player available. But he would continue talking about flexibility and how the Bears have an opportunity here to grab 3 impact players in the first 2 rounds. He mentioned another thing that I've brought up multiple times this offseason. He said there's only about a handful of blue chip players in this draft, but outside of the top 5, there's roughly 50 players or so with first round grades. So the Bears have a chance to add 3 impact players with our first 3 picks. He also went on to talk about the moves they've made this offseason and how they've really upgraded the trenches, even saying now it's just about adding depth, making it seem like maybe offensive line really is off the table at least for round 1. But he also singled out Rome Odunze as a player he really believes in. Rome is an absolute stud, and I don't get where any negativity regarding Rome comes from. But Poles also talked about how Caleb and Rome are going to continue building chemistry together. I'm so excited about the future of those two. But our GM also talked about our upgrades on the offensive and defensive lines. But he really zeroed in on Drew Dahlman as the guy who's going to help Caleb Williams the most. Dahlman is not only a big upgrade in the middle of our O-line, but he will also make all of the line calls for Caleb as well. He's going to help identify blitzers, and he's going to make all the blocking adjustments. His experience is going to really help set the tone on that offensive line, and that's without even mentioning Joe Thuney next to him. One of the coolest moments, though, was when Ryan Poles was asked about Ben Johnson, and he lit up when he talked about the new coach of this football team. He said their relationship is already great, and he expects Caleb and Ben Johnson to have a special relationship. But not only did Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles talk to the media, Kevin Warren gave an update on our new stadium and loved the lakefront property in Chicago, but then he went on to talk about the Arlington Heights land, how beautiful it is, and how perfect it is for a new stadium. He also said the land difference between building on the lakefront or Arlington Heights, size really comes into play. In the city, you don't really have much room at all to work with, but in Arlington Heights, you can basically build a small city with how much land you have. Those were Kevin Warren's words. You can basically build a small city in Arlington Heights. To me, it's pretty clear. Our next stadium is going to be in Arlington Heights. I've expected that for a while, but everything I heard from Kevin Warren seemed to be pointing in that direction. Finally, we did get some NFL updates as well. They have tabled talks on the tush push play until May. That means there will be more discussion on the topic, and there's definitely a chance that it gets banned. But not just the tush push, they're considering banning all plays that involve pushing other players for player safety. There was also one new change announced today in the NFL. They will officially start measuring first downs with new camera-based technology in 2025. The old chain gangs will remain on the sideline as a backup option in case the cameras malfunction. A quick recap of some of the biggest news. Ryan Poles talked about extending Kyler Gordon, adding impact players on this defense, and more. While Ben Johnson would talk about adding dynamic weapons on the offense, he also talked about how much defensive tackles matter and how he wants to establish the run on offense. He's going to use that to help Caleb Williams, and he's going to mix in plenty of play action passes. He also said the plan for Braxton Jones. He also said the plan right now is for Braxton Jones to be the starting left tackle, and he expects Karan Amagaji to provide competition. Definitely something to keep an eye on. But we are just 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, and there are a ton of rumors floating around right now. I have some in-depth breakdowns and scouting reports on the way. Make sure you have your notifications turned on. Remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned. And until next time, bear down.